Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 53 of the Focus on Gaming podcast. I'm Duncan, and I'm joined by Martin, hello, and Tom, hello.
Hi.
And today we have a special guest, Mr. Shaun Campbell, aka Did Somebody Say Retro? Welcome, Shaun.
Welcome.
Okay.
And now Shaun is, I don't know what you can say. Basically, you build retro consoles, arcade cabinets, mods, all sorts. Not just swapping a shell, but your proper full-on game cabinets you build by hand.
Yeah, man.
Excellent. So what is your first? What was your first gaming memory? What's got you as a gamer?
I'd say probably playing on Master System 2, the one that had Sonic built in. So I think it was Alex Kidd or Sonic, and I think it was playing Sonic because I remember I couldn't really quite understand how it worked because there wasn't a cartridge in the console. But he turned it on. My next door neighbour turned it on with no cartridge in, and it was working. And I think that's my first memory.
There's a lot of people that I think even today didn't realise that Alex Kidd was built in.
Yeah. I didn't, to be honest, because I thought it was just Sonic. But
was it a built-in cartridge then? Like in the... Because I didn't know about this.
There was just a chip, I think.
Yeah, it's a chipset.
That was just in there. Turned it on without a cartridge and hey presto, again loaded up.
Then they swapped it out for Sonic because that advanced over Alex the Kid being the mascot, and Sonic became the mascot for Sega, and Alex the Kid kind of sat by the wayside until what was that movie that came out with the was it Wreck-It Ralph?
Oh, Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah.
Wreck-It Ralph.
He's in there somewhere. So,
is he?
Yeah.
Sonic, I think, was in there as well.
Yeah. So, what was your first ever console or
was
gaming
that the Master
machine?
System?
I'd say the first console that I had was probably a NES, an NES. That was my first one. So that was the first one that I owned. I think my next door neighbour had the Master System, which I played on, but yeah, the NES, my Nintendo NES was the first one.
Yeah.
Because you're not as old as myself or Tom. I think you're around Martin's age. So did you get that as a late thing?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I was born in '88, so I got it quite young. So yeah, man, I was pretty young when I got it. I can't remember. I've not got the best memory in the world. I'm not sure exactly what age I was or anything.
Yeah. What was your favourite game on that system?
On the Master System or
on the NES?
On the NES, Super Mario Brothers 3, easy. Still my favourite game, man. It's just perfect game. The perfect game for me.
And the best artwork as well.
Say again?
And the artwork as well was fantastic.
Oh yeah, it's brilliant, mate. It's brilliant. Everything, even on the box, I've got a boxed one in Perspex, with the little black circle Nintendo seal sticker on it. It's opened, but it's still on there. So the artwork on the actual game itself and in the game as well is brilliant.
Yeah.
Did you have do you prefer 2D games over 3D games? So with the Mario, do you prefer the 2D ones to the 3D ones, or?
I'd say, yeah. There's something really charming with 2D games. I think, there's something I find really charming about them.
We've had this debate because I prefer the 3D Mario games. So Super Mario 64. My favorite, and then both Tom and Duncan, are all to do with the 2D Mario ones. But so it seems like another person on Tom and Duncan's side.
Super Mario Land for me because it's probably the only one I've actually ever owned myself.
Yeah, Super Mario Land and Super Mario World are my favourites.
I've played a lot of them, but I only completed Super Mario World. I think in about August last year. That was the first time I'd ever done it. I'm 46 years old now, so I waited a while.
Difficult games, though, aren't they? When you go back on them, you realise how hard they were.
The issue. Well, it's not an issue at all, is it? But the obstacle that you get with Super Mario Brothers 3 is there's no saving, so you have to do it in one sitting. So I remember doing that and getting what. It was the It was the world where you use the frog suit a lot, and I think that was the furthest that I used to get when I was a kid until I had to turn it off. So I'm sure to get past that as a kid. I think once I kept it on all day on pause and just turned the telly off, so my mum and dad didn't know.
Telling your parents, don't touch it, please.
Yeah, nightmare. But now you can get it on the Switch, so you can save it and then just keep picking, just pick up where you left off. But it's took something away from it. Like it's great that you can do that, but that's not how it was.
I mean, Super Mario Land took me weeks to complete, and I did it recently with emulation and save states in about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Because I really like the Donkey Kong countries, and when the original version of there, I know you could save in between levels, but if the jeopardy of dying in a level and having to go, whereas now I play on the Wii U and you can just click restore or save points and so if I know I'm coming to a hard point, I just be like, okay, I'm going to save it here because I know I'm going to die and I don't want to But yeah, back then there was actually like jeopardy in it. It made it like you. I would leave my console on and would really hope my mum wouldn't come in, like turn it off or something. And if she did, I'd be like, really upset.
You could get away with it. I couldn't. We had £1 machines where you'd put in the pound coin and turn it to get more power. And if I left my console on for too long, and then I got a slap. So yeah.
This was the 80s.
It was acceptable back then.
Different time.
So how did you start in the modding scene? What was the first stepping stone into what you do now?
I'd say I was refurbishing Game Boys, kind of just as a hobby, really, because Game Boys, and this isn't like ages ago. This is like 7 years ago, probably 7, 8 years ago. So I was buying Game Boys for really cheap. I was getting them for like a tenner each, and they were working, and I could get them regularly. So I was just stocking up on them, and then I started refurbishing them and giving them like a new lease of life, really. So people could, and then pass them on then, and people can enjoy them. But then I started seeing on the internet that there were backlit screen modifications that you can do, and they looked really complicated, so I didn't really want to do it. And I put it off for a long time because I'd never used a soldering iron, never done anything electrical because I was scared of it. And I went to Maplin's and bought a non-temperature controlled soldering iron, which is the cheapest soldering iron you can get, probably about 10 quid. And then I did what's called a backlit mod on a Game Boy DMG, but you put in a bivert module as well. So people call it, I call it a bivert backlit mod. And it basically, without getting too technical, the bivert chip flips the pixels round so it looks inverted, and then you put a new polarizing film in with a backlit screen and turn it, and then it swaps them back again, but gives you a really clean, crisp image. I hope it made sense.
It does.
And that's my introduction to the modding scene, and that was the first. Yeah.
So Game Boys, is there like any other sort of hand console? Like, would you have you modded like Game Gears before or anything like that? Or has it all been?
Yeah, so the Game Gear, I never modded a Game Gear. I recapped one, but I didn't do the best job in the world because I think there was like maybe 30 capacitors or something like that. Not really done that before. Hadn't done that before, but it was one of those situations where I just went for it because that's how I got into it. It was just thinking, right, I'm worried about breaking the Game Boy, worried about breaking the Game Gear, but let's just do it. What have I got to lose? So I just did it. But yeah, I did Game Gear. I did recap the Game Gear, but I didn't modify it because the screens are so expensive. I think they still are, to be honest. Any backlit screen you get for the Game Gear, they're like over £100. I didn't want to spend all that money and for it to break. So then I've done other ones. I've done the Colour Advance. SPs are just really fiddly, so I didn't want to do that.
You ever dared to do it? Is a micro as well? Is that really fiddly?
Oh my life, yeah, super fiddly. They were really hard to get hold of. I ended up buying one on eBay and they never sent it, and it put me off getting another one. So I never got it, and my hands are absolutely massive. So working on a micro is just a nightmare. So I'm a big tall guy with huge, sort of monstrous hands, and so just working on Game Boys in general is hard work. Like it's a challenge in itself, but micro is just an SP.
Is that why you're now turning them into larger things? Because
yes, the bigger, because they're I try and make things bigger because it's more comfortable for me. So using screws that I can actually hold on to, because the screws that are in Game Boys are just microscopic.
Yeah.
So it's challenging, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Great stuff.
I think Martin, we were going to ask what was the first hardware mod. So that was that Game Boy?
Yeah. So that was the Game Boy DMG, so the original Game Boy, and that was that backlit Bivert mod. And then that was the one that really spurred me on to start experimenting with other mods and sort of do different models and stuff.
So if you said that you're worried about breaking anything, have you ever had anything that you've maybe shorted or had a disaster? You just maybe go into a corner and cry for a week.
Yeah, loads.
Oh, no.
Like,
is this going to make us cry now?
There's a few Game Boys in the pile, mate. If I'm honest, there was a point. It was one of those things where the only way I'm going to learn is if I do them, and then, like I said, with my hands, I'm heavy-handed. And these mods, these backlit Bivert mods, if you've ever seen it before, to remove the polarizer from the back of the glass screen that's inside the Game Boy from out the factory is an incredible task. Like, it's so difficult. It's stuck on like you wouldn't believe, and you've got to get it out without breaking the ribbon cable. So just naturally that I've slipped a few times with the Stanley blade, and once you cut the ribbon cable, if you're not really skilled, it's over. The difference is these days is people don't really care for that. It's really weird. Like when we were doing those backlit mods, if you wanted your Game Boy to have a backlit screen, we needed that. We needed both motherboards. We needed both circuit boards, the front and the back. Mm-hmm. But now, because you can do backlit IPS screens, you don't even need the front bit anymore. So some people don't even want them. I imagine people are just chucking them, or just selling them for really cheap. But back in the day, they were like gold dust. They were really not necessarily good. Well, they were more valuable. Basically, they were more valuable to the modder. Like we needed that because we needed to modify the original screen.
I think it's every kid's dream in the early 90s to have a original Game Boy that was color screened, and
I used to have like a massive magnifying glass.
Yeah, I had one of those.
So just so I could play it, and you had to have a light, and you couldn't play it in the dark, could you? Because it had no sort of light or anything, and the sound was always like. Do you do stuff with the sound as well? Is it just the screen or?
Yeah, I've done most of the mods. So I've done sound mods as well, where I put in amplifier chips and then also new speakers and stuff like that. I don't know if you ever saw the attachment that you could get, because it just spurred a memory of mine, where you said that you had the magnifying glass. You put a couple of AAA batteries in the top, and you got a light in there.
Oh, the light boy.
Yeah. So you can also get. I think it was by Newbie. The extra additional speakers that click into the bottom of the DMG.
Yeah,
still got them, and the sound is. It's so unnecessary. Nobody needs to play a game with that loud. It's ridiculous. If you were sitting next to a kid who's got that on, that loud, you just want to chuck it. You just want to chuck it away.
I had the Hyperboy where you'd slide it into the back of this joystick setup with the backlight, and the controls were red, I think, and it had some speakers on it, and it took batteries. It was just a powerhouse, but you couldn't do anything with it because you couldn't walk around with it. It was so damn heavy.
Yeah, I saw a YouTube video recently, and somebody had tried to put as many additions onto a Game Boy as they could, like the magnifying glass, the speakers, the extra bit. There was the the camera and all sorts. They had every single add-on they could, and eventually, I think it was about a foot that out from the screen kind of thing. But yeah, a lot of them were ridiculous. But it just did mean that we could go under the quilt at home when you're meant to be asleep and turn it on. If you forgot to turn the volume down, and you just hear bling. No.
Because that was the best thing about the colour, is that they just built light into it. It seemed like a simple thing, but it just meant you could go in it. You didn't have to be reliant on being daylight.
That was the colour didn't have backlight, did it?
No.
It was the Advance.
The Advance was the first one.
The SP had a front light. So there's two versions of the Game Boy Advance SP. The little square one that would fold open. The AGS 001 is the one that most of us had, where it's got a front light, and you press the little light button on the Game Boy itself to turn it on, but it's a front light, so it's not as good. And then there's the AGS 101. I hope I got those two the right way around. But the 101 is a backlit screen, and that was the first proper backlit screen in the Game Boy. But the colour, and the DMG and the Advance didn't come with lit screens. However, there is a model of the Game Boy called the Game Boy Light that came out in Japan, and you'll see that on my page somewhere. I posted a video not that long ago, I don't think. And it's like the illuminescent in a watch like that.
Oh yeah.
It's got that. It's got that in the what's it called? It's got that built into the screen, behind the screen.
Nice.
So that's how you can actually play it, like kind of looking like a watch. It looks so cool.
It's like a Japanese exclusive, wasn't it?
Yeah,
yeah. I've got one. I love it. It's my favourite.
What colour? Yeah. Which colour is yours?
I think it's blue. I'm pretty sure it's like a blue colour.
Okay.
But it's so good.
Yeah, they're brilliant. The one that I did is I had a gold one, and then I changed the shell to there's third-party shells that were made, and they're like mirror clear. Like I think they call them mirror or glass.
Yeah, I think the colour of my case is silver, and the backlight is blue. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
So the backlight will always be that blue colour, and then so I think it was a silver and a gold that were released. So I think you got a nice one.
2 batteries to power it for about a month. It's great.
Yeah, it double A's because that model of Game Boy was because when I redid all the shell and the buttons and stuff, I had to find out what parts I needed, and it is actually a mixture of 3 different Game Boys. The parts that you need are so like the start and select button, and then like the actual like D-pad and the A and the B, and then something else as well. I can't remember what the other thing was. It's escaping me. But it's kind of like a mishmash of 2 or 3 different Game Boy models to get all the parts together to reshell it. So
it's probably what Nintendo did, isn't it? Just we'll take that bit from the Game Boy, that bit from the Game Boy, and mash it up.
And never give it to us. Only Japan.
So we talk about Game Boy a lot because like a lot of the arcades you've done, one thing that you have done is the Wood Boy, which is a desktop arcade cabinet that is a Game Boy.
Yeah.
With arcade sticks, A and B buttons, start and select, and then a slot. It's got a wooden slot in the middle.
Yeah.
I think that was a viewer request, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was. So lots of people have requested it, and then I just got to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm going to make the time. I struggle for time these days to do anything. But I'm going to make the time, and I'm going to do what's been requested, and people loved it. So
was that for personal use, the Wood Boy, or was that for your work? A lot of your mods are in NQ64 bars, aren't they?
Yeah. So some of my work is in NQ64. A lot of my recent work is in NQ64. But the Wood Boy was just for me. The Wood Boy was me kind of connecting because I'm a trained carpenter, and I used to do that for a few years. I always wanted to combine those 2 skill sets. So the skill sets I learned by modding, and then learning how to build an arcade machine and stuff at NQ64, and then my skills in carpentry. I always wanted to combine the 2, so that's what I did. Is I just put the 2 together.
It is a Lovely piece.
Thanks.
What type of wood is it? Not to make
It's
the
just
podcast
pine.
go a bit forward.
It's pine. So yeah, it's just pine. So I was umming and ahhing about the name. I was going to call it the Pine Boy, but I thought the Wood Boy sounded better, so I ended that. But yeah, it's just out of pine. It's like pine sheets. I think they were 500mm wide. You can get 600mm, but they're really expensive because it's loads of slots of pine squashed together, basically. But it looks like one solid piece. But yeah,
It does look really. Yeah, it does look really. It's a shame that more consoles aren't made out of wood, isn't it? Like,
I know.
the new Xbox, whatever, on PlayStation came out made out of wood.
The wood station.
We're giving him ideas.
Yeah, you are actually. The Atari did a wood fit. Didn't Atari have a console that's got wood on it?
Oh, the front panel bit was
with the 20. Was it
600?
2600? Yeah.
I think that, and then the Junior is just all black plastic, if I remember right. But it's
right, yeah.
So then we can look forward to the wood station, the X Wood, the Nintendo Wood Switch.
Yeah, man.
Just because wood's more expensive to use, I mean, like, than plastic, or is it because
it's just because I know my way around. I know my way around using it and cutting it and finishing it because of being a carpenter. So it's where my experience lies, is using that material. You can do it with and it is expensive to buy those sheets of pine. But one of the other reasons is because as a carpenter, a lot of the work that I did was using pine, but then it's always painted. I'm looking at my skirting boards now and they're painted white. But it's just a shame that we always use this pine material and just always cover it up. So I wanted to just celebrate, because I like it. I love the smell of pine. I love the look of pine. It's kind of like it's a common material used in building, but people don't usually tend to just leave it looking like that. Yeah. So I think that's probably what stands out a little bit, because it just looks like raw. So
yeah, it looks awesome. Absolutely.
Martin?
Yeah. Yes, because there's been I think we discussed it in another episode, with retro gaming. There's a big sort of, it's had a little comeback, and it with Tetris 99 and just with the Mario games as well. So
yeah, I think retro's come back because people like me and Tom are getting old, and we're the dads, and I mean you guys are dads as well. Yeah. And we're like, no, we want to play these old games, and they're not recent history anymore, and gamers aren't people in their mum's basements kind of thing. That's what I think. That's why I think it's having a bit of a resurgence.
Long gone on those days.
Like the NQ64 bars. At the end of the day, the gamers that played on the Nintendo entertainment system are now drinking. So why not combine the two loves?
We have a retro gaming bar near us. Actually, we should venture down there, Duncan. We do.
Bar.
Yeah, well, pub. Yeah.
Where are you? Where are you based?
Southend.
Essex. We don't have an NQ60. The nearest NQ64, I think, is in London.
Yeah, I was there yesterday, actually. I was in Soho yesterday. So you got Soho and Shoreditch.
Yeah, I'm from your neck of the woods, sort of. I'm from Redditch originally.
Okay.
So that's my family talk like this. So it's nice to hear the accent.
Yeah, I'm from Weston, Shaun, so Weston Superman. So I don't know where Bristol, I guess, would be the closest in terms of arcade. I don't know if there's an NQ.
Yeah, there's one in Bristol.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go, Martin. Get down there, get filming.
That'll be your little job for the next episode.
Yeah, I don't need encouraging to go out to bars as a more bar. Very happy.
I'll be fine.
Duncan, feel free.
So, I was going to say, I'll do Martin's question if he wants. So the screen in the Wood Boy, I just noticed it did look almost almost like e-ink kind of. It looked really nice and smooth, and almost made the Game Boy look higher resolution. Is that the screen tech that you were talking earlier?
Yeah. So it's different to like an actual Game Boy mod, but it is worth noting that the Wood Boy is all original hardware. So when you're playing on the Wood Boy, you're playing on a Game Boy. You're playing on the actual cartridge. So when I'm putting the cartridge into a cartridge reader, it's actually running on an original Game Boy. So that's the difference. Where that's one of the goals of that project as well, was to do it without using emulation, without using ROMs, to do it the proper way.
Yeah.
So the technology that's used is something called a consolizer. There's two versions for the DMG. There's the DMTV, which has a VGA out, and then there's the GBHD. It's the same thing, but one of them puts out VGA, one of them puts out HDMI. I believe, if I remember right, the Wood Boy puts out HDMI, but the monitor I had at the time is VGA. So I ended up going from HDMI down to VGA anyway, and even still, it still looks really nice and crisp and clear. So basically, this consolizer is, I'll try and make it simple. Basically, it's by a company called Gamebox Systems. Unfortunately, they're not around anymore. The company isn't around anymore, so they're not making it. That's just unfortunately due to the main guy there, the brains behind it all, Postman. He unfortunately passed away not too long ago. So the company has closed down since then. So yeah, man, he was a super nice guy, one of the friendliest, nicest guys out. He's from the States. He came over, and I met him in. He came over and then made a special trip to come down to NQ64 in Birmingham, and we went and met each other. And then I showed him the Wall Boy idea, and then the Wall Boy has only been able to exist because of his additional work and modifying the consolizers specifically for the Wall Boy. And there were only a handful made. So there's like the ones that go out and be put into the NQ64 bars will be the only ones that are ever done. Yeah. So
at least that's a good legacy for him to have.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was nice to be able to celebrate his work and put them in bars. So yeah, he was a really, really, really cool guy, really clever. Yeah. So the consolizer that he came up with, that consolizer is basically a little circuit board that you connect a Game Boy circuit board to, and it basically means that you can just output HDMI, play your Game Boy and convert the video to like HDMI. That's as simple as I'm making it sound super simple.
So is it basically there's not an intact Game Boy in there? You've taken the shell off and put the parts where they need to be.
Yeah. So,
or is there an intact Game Boy that's just got wires sticking out of it?
No. So imagine I've got a Game Boy. I've completely stripped it, and I'm using just the main motherboard, the main circuit board. That's the rear half. That's got the cartridge reader and stuff in it. I'm just using that. So that's the main part. That's got all the bits and pieces in a Game Boy that make it work are on that particular board. So it uses that. That's at the heart of it, and then it sort of, I guess, feeds through this other board and then outputs it into HDMI, and then like sort of really good sound quality and stuff comes out of it as well. And it's controlled. It's also, you obviously need to be able to play it. So it's controlled by a SNES pad. It's controlled by a Super Nintendo pad. So what you see when you look at the Wood Boy, you see an arcade stick and buttons, but the left, up, right, down micro switches and the B and the A and the start and select, they're connected straight to the board of a SNES pad. So that's how that works. So you're basically playing on a SNES pad, but I've extended the buttons to the switches that are on the back of those buttons.
Best controller ever released, in my opinion, the SNES one.
Say that again, sorry.
I said the SNES one is, in my opinion, the best controller that was ever released.
You know what? Considering it's not that big, it is really comfortable. There's something I just don't get how it works, how they designed it. It's small and it's just flat, but it just feels really comfortable.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I like with the Switch Joy-Cons, I cramp up when I use a Switch. I'm like, I can play it for maybe 5 minutes before I'm like, this is really uncomfortable. But yeah, Super Nintendo.
I'm surprised none of you have said the Nintendo 64 controller when it was
like worst controller ever.
They did design, I've always said they designed a controller that wasn't designed for humans. It would seem it was so awkward to hold it. You're like, I've got this analog
spider fingers to kind of operate it.
And then it had these random C buttons, which I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing with these, but they're over there as well. But yeah, this might be a stupid, but like, because it's a Game Boy, isn't it? And then, but the screen's big. Was there any like challenges of making it the screen big for a Game Boy? Like, I don't know if that's like.
So all of that was taken care of in the consolizer. So the actual work that went into that, I'm not too sure, but basically all I've done is I've got the consolizer, and then the HDMI cable comes out the back of it, and that just goes into a monitor essentially.
Yeah.
And then I sort of tweak the monitor, maybe in the settings, just to get it, just to fine tune it a little bit. And then I've built, like the way that I built the Wood Boy, I wanted to make it as small as I could. I didn't want to just have a big massive machine. So it's not actually that deep at all. If you look at it from the side, it's not as deep as other machines are. And I also built it so that the border that goes around the screen, you'll see if you look at the Wood Boy, the border that goes around the screen is probably 12, 13 mil maybe. When you get other arcade machines, a lot of the times you have big borders that go around the screen for whatever reason. But I tried to minimize that as much as I could, so that when you're looking at it and you're playing on it, it's just as big as it can be.
Yeah.
So I put
it's amazing. Absolutely. I really want to play on one.
So as somebody who hasn't got a clue about electrics, I probably haven't soldiered anything for about 30 years. I do know the basics of using a drill. I'm not a trained. I've just done a bit of DIY here and there. Is modding something that I and anybody like me can get into? And where would you recommend someone like me starts?
Yeah, so everybody can get into it. It's honestly, I had like no experience before I bought that soldering iron, absolutely zero, and it scared the life out of me, thinking that I'm going to mess with something that's electrical. I'm definitely going to get electrocuted. I'm definitely going to send myself to hospital. I'm definitely going to burn myself on the soldering iron. But it's just as long as you just be careful and just follow, tutorial videos and stuff, you'll be okay. But so yeah, if you wanted to get into it, anybody can do it really. You can get yourself some cheap tools these days. Like you can get a lot of the stuff that you need off Amazon or eBay. So I just get like a basic set of tools. Depends on what kind of mods you want to do. I would obviously recommend how I started. So I'd start by changing the shell on the buttons on a Game Boy, just to get used to using tiny screwdrivers, tiny screws, and learning how consoles or handhelds open up and get put back together again, because that's like a skill that you end up getting just used to, but at first that's quite a task, is doing that. So learn how to take something apart and put it back together again.
I've got a Steam Deck, and I've changed the rear shell on there, because that is literally just a few screws, clipping it off and clipping the new one on, and I've changed the SSD in it. They have made it very easy to do. You can change the front shell, but then you have to get a heat gun out for that and take the screen off, which then if you crack it, it's gone. So now I've done the basics for that. But yes, I'd love to be able to get a Game Boy and go, this doesn't work. and be able to go, right, it's that, I need to change that. And
did you see like stuff on eBay, don't you, or Facebook Marketplace, where it's really cheap because someone said it's broken or whatever, and you think I could pick that up and have a good, there might be some which are just beyond repair, but so how long ago was it when you first started? Like how many when you said about the Game Boys? How many years ago was that when you started doing that? Just
I'd say I remember I made the Did Somebody Say Retro account 7 years ago, so I was doing it about a year before then. So I'd say about 8 years, I think.
So was there like YouTube videos or something like that you would watch, or did you just sort of teach yourself, or like?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I'd watch YouTube videos, and I made friends on Instagram, and I asked questions. There's a guy on Instagram called Joe Bleeps. And he's somebody that I've been friends with on there since the very start of doing Did Somebody Say Retro, and he used to help me out a lot with any questions that I had. And then there's been a lot of other people along the way, and yeah, just a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of reading, people talking on Reddit and forum posts and stuff like that, and just a lot of research.
And have you ever done any sort of YouTube videos yourself, Shaun, where you've like gone step by step from a start to finish of a project?
I have done some YouTube content before along those lines, but I've just not got. I don't know. YouTube never really worked for me. It's mainly Instagram, but on Instagram there are lots of projects that I've done where you can follow it from start to finish. Maybe not from one video, maybe. So basically, I usually make 1 minute videos following a project. So I'll do them in stages. So maybe I'll do a part one, and then a few days later I'll do the next bit, and then the next bit.
These aren't things that you're doing in one day, are they? They can be months.
Exactly. There's things that I work on that I do in part. So I literally. What I do now is I make the content of what I've done that day, and then I edit it and I post it, and that's what I do, because I don't have the time to sort of hold on to stuff, and it's just I just have to make it, record it, edit it, get it, post it, and that's the best way.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, man.
So speaking of builds and projects and things, what projects have you got coming up? Is there any previews you can give us of things you've got planned?
So there is one that I came up with literally a few days ago, with the help of a friend who suggested something a while back. I don't want to give too much of that away because I haven't tested it yet, but I'm going to be testing it soon. But it is something to do with wood again, pine. So that's. No one else knows this. So yes, something along the line, something using pine again is potentially on the cards. And there's a project I'm working on now that isn't finished called the Wide Boy, which is a 4-player control panel that I've built from scratch. And you're going to be able to play 4-player arcade games on it. Everything is built inside the control panel. So you have that control panel, and there's a HDMI and a plug coming out the back of it. You plug it in, and that's it. It's got everything you need in there. So that's what I'm working on at the minute that isn't finished, but it will be finished in the next.
So yeah, I've seen the previews of that. It's basically like your sort of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade. So many good memories, that game, and the Simpsons arcade.
Yes,
as well. That was brilliant. That was the other one that absorbed a lot of the money of my youth. Back in the dirty, smoky, grimy, dodgy arcades that were around in the 80s and 90s. I remember, God, most of them had dodgy men hanging around in them as well. With hindsight, I really shouldn't have gone in them. But yeah, I did. No, thankfully, nobody ever abducted me or anything. So
we're trying to nick the arcade machines.
Are they going to be in the NQ64 bars then? That when you're the Wide Boy, or is that?
So that's the plan. Is the plan is for the Wide Boy to go into an NQ64 bar, but
You're also building an arcade in your garage, aren't you?
Yeah, I built an arcade machine in the garage. That's right. Yeah, so I've got an arcade shell in the garage, but the pine one will be for myself. The Wide Boy is an NQ64 project, but I can't say. I don't really want to say where it's going or anything yet. Just it's not.
I'm just thinking that would
to be confirmed.
When you were explaining it, it was just I thought that sounds like an ideal thing for a bar.
Yeah,
all mates, all on a game together.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's So what I normally do with those projects is I don't give too much away, just because I like to make sure it's in. I want to see it in there before I tell people where I'm playing it. I want to see it in there just so I know it's 100% done. Because I hate to do it, share it, and then for something to happen and it not work out. But the plan is to go somewhere.
Well, if it's near Martin, we'll send him in for a review. If it's near us, we'll be in Soho.
Okay. Cool.
I have to go in on my own though. Play it on my own.
I'm sure you'll find.
I'll find three friends on the street or something.
3 randoms.
I just thought, I remember all those. Remember those? We've got a local micro pub that's got one of the coffee table Pac-Man machine kind of things. That'd be a good one, wouldn't it? Would have one of them.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I've thought about that as well. There's lots. There's still ideas out there that I haven't found and discovered yet. But the main problem is just time. I don't really have the time. So the idea that I've got for the next project that's made out of pine, it shouldn't take me too much time, and it's not an intense project where I need to. There is some new things that I'm going to be doing that I haven't done before, but it's not as complicated as like the Wood Boy, and it shouldn't take up too much space. So I'm looking forward to doing that. But you'll know when it comes out that's what I'm talking about, because the name that I've got for it literally says pine in the name. So, you're
trying so hard to not say it, aren't you?
I know.
I'm just trying to think of any gaming puns with pine in. No, I can't think of any. But
I reckon it's a Pine Boy, and it's going to be like an original Game Boy, but out of pine. That's what I'm going for.
Everyone keep an eye on Did Somebody Say Retro? Sure, it will come out eventually. But anyway, so Tom.
Oh, have I missed a question? Oh yeah. Have you received any crazy commissions or inquiries that you've been excited to make?
That you could tell us about.
So basically, I've been flooded with commission requests and inquiries about getting commissions done. But if I basically haven't got the time, I know I've said it before. I didn't anticipate the amount of interest there would be. And it's only me, and I have a family, and I have a job, and the time that I've got is very minimal. So I'm not able to commit to building new projects at the moment. It's only at the moment. At some point, things will ease off a little bit. There have been some interesting requests that I've received, and some interesting ideas, which I just can't really, unfortunately, build or just haven't really.
Because stuff you do it's like unique, isn't it? It's not something you could just like mass produce. So obviously they must take.
They're all bespoke.
Yeah.
So the interesting ones. So I'm not sure if it relates to the same question, but there are some very unique projects that I've done commission. Well, they're not technically commissioned because they're for NQ64. So basically, I work for NQ64. I'm employed by them, and some of the projects that I've done recently are for NQ64. So there's the N60 suitcase, so an N64 in a suitcase, in a vintage suitcase. Then the case station, which is a PlayStation that's inside a Pelican air case, that's got like you sort of lift the arm up and you can walk around with it. It's got wheels on it and stuff. It's really portable, really easy to take around. Those projects, I'm really keen. I'm really keen on doing stuff like that because it's new, it's brand new, and something that I've not seen before. So those projects really get me going. Like that.
Is that in the bar then that you could literally go, I'd like a PlayStation, please, and someone wheels it up to you and there you go.
So basically, what they do is they use that to take to potential. They take it around basically. So NQ64 use these consoles that are easy to transport and take them to places, take them to people, and show them sort of what NQ64. Give you a taste of NQ64, but in your office or in your place of work, you get to get a feel for what NQ is like.
I get no work done whatsoever. I'd be fired by the end of the day. Let's just. Yeah.
Didn't you? I think I read somewhere that, like, I don't know, like maybe like weddings or something would hire out your machines or something like that.
That's right. Yeah, I used to hire out retro gaming equipment. So I used to have loads of CRTs. I used to have a bunch of 14-inch CRTs in the loft, and a box full of. I bought, if you go to my page when I used to have a games room, I had 8 consoles in a Kallax unit, and I just bought all of them again, and pads, and I would take my actual games collection with me, and I'd be paid and hired to sort of go and like do
a wedding.
And then I'm just trying to think how that would go down if me and my partner got married. I gamed quite a bit, and then on our wedding day, some retro.
I wouldn't have seen my wife on my wedding day if I'd had that. Yeah. I'll come and cut the cake in a minute.
We can, when you get married, Marty, eventually, what we'll do, we'll be the ones walk behind the dress, but we'll have Nintendos and things portable playing behind.
Have controllers connected to the dress.
When my last child was born, I took my found a Game Boy Color. I took that with Pokemon. I was like, I see how far I can get through. I think it was Pokemon Red I had, and it was quite a quick birth. So I was a bit like, I only got to Lieutenant Zurge. I was a bit like disappointed because I was thinking,
that's a bit selfish of your kid, really, isn't it? God, just stay in there. I'm just about to get a beta trainer.
It was already a birth of my child where I was gaming, so a wedding it would be.
You were the typical meme, were you? The dad sitting playing while the wife's like.
Well, when it started, I did I paused it.
That was kind of you.
You just turn the screen off and leave.
Took my tell him to keep the light on because it was a Game Boy Color. Obviously, no light. So,
I should have taken my Amstrad CPC 464 in with me with the monitor. That would have gone down there.
I don't prefer the Wood Boy. That in or whatever.
Do you have Shaun? Do you have a gaming partner?
What games have we played? We played Overcooked together.
Oh yeah, my wife loves that.
Yeah. It's stressful though, man.
It is.
So that'll challenge your relationship. If you played that together, you're still together. Then it's.
Yes.
Go on. Sorry.
We've been through the first and second one with my wife. She's not a gamer, and she loved that.
They're good games, man. We've played. We used to play House of the Dead 2, I think it is, on the original Xbox with the light guns. We used to play that. The one with the sloth on it. There's a boss. I don't know what House of the Dead that is.
Oh yes, it's in like a spiral tower. Yeah.
Yeah, like a big cage. So that one, I had the light guns. I think I've still got them, to be honest. And the original Xbox, we used to play that. And then what else have we played?
Was there light guns on the original Xbox?
There were.
Yeah, man. And they also have a red dot sight on them as well. You can get them. You can get them. Oh no, sorry, not a red. Hang on. No, it's got like a clip. It's a red and black gun, and you can clip like a sight on top of it. And I'm sure it has like a red dot in there or something. And they're the best guns I've used. There's some other games that we played. We played SSX Tricky, Rhythm Paradise. Those kind of games, man. But yeah, so she's she is also a bit of a gamer. Not a big one, to be fair, but like there are a few games that she's good at and that we've played before.
Excellent. So we'll play a little game of Would You Rather now. Would you rather be able to make any mod, have as many Game Boys as you want, make arcade, do whatever you want, and you'd get the joy of seeing people play those games, but you could never play those games, or never be able to mod anything again, but you can carry on playing games. Which is your biggest love, would you say? The building or the playing?
Oh man, that's a great question.
Because I know it's both. I know you love both.
Yeah, I do. My first initial answer is, I think it's going to be, I'd rather build them and see people playing on them than play them.
I can imagine it's a great feeling when you go into an NQ64 and you see people like really sort of, look, playing whatever.
Yeah, the Wall Boy that's in Northern Quarter, and there's a second one in Birmingham. Seeing people play on it is pretty sick, man. It's a really good. It's a really, really good feeling. Like, it was a good feeling watching people play on the consoles when I used to just hire out and do events with just standard consoles, but I've not done anything to them. I've just bought them and put them there. But actually building something that's unique. I used to take the Wood Boy up to the hip hop chip shop in Manchester and seeing people play it in there and stand back and know some people, and then see people come in that don't know that I built it, don't know that I'm there, and see people playing on it and enjoy it. And like, that is just like, you can't, it's difficult to beat that feeling, really.
When they go up to the counter and go, "There's a man keeps watching this and smiling."
Weird.
So if money was no object at all, what console or machine would you like to buy, retro wise? What would be the one? Neo Geo AES. You've got, I don't know, Panasonic 3DOs.
There's probably some rare Game Boys from competitions, isn't there?
Yeah, there's some rare versions of Game Boys. That's a really good question as well.
Pepsi Game Boy.
You know what? It'd probably be. There's a version of the PS. Oh, I'm not going to remember that fully, so I'm going to end up saying it like a Wally if I've got it wrong. But there's versions of consoles that are like that were like the production. What are they called now?
Prototype kind of thing.
The development.
There's dev kits. Dev kits.
Yeah, dev kits. Like, dev kits really appeal to me, but they're super expensive. That's exactly what I was thinking. Then there's a console that was made. What's that console that was made between PlayStation and Nintendo?
Yes. It was called just like the Super PlayStation or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, something along those lines. I think something that is really unique, that is really super rare. That will be special to have in the collection. Yeah, something like that.
You do collect screens as well, don't you? Because I've seen you had recently posted a picture of I had to look it up, a Philips Discoverer TV.
Oh,
that was I looked that up on eBay. I'm like, blimey.
Yeah, it was only 60 quid. I got that for a few years ago.
I think it's worth at least probably 10 times that.
Is it really? I haven't even checked it.
Now he's thinking.
Yeah, if you look it up on eBay, I think if it's working, I think there was one that wasn't working, and that was something like £300.
Really? Okay, so I didn't know that, but I love it, so I'll probably hold on to it. I'm funny. So I collect CRTs and stuff as well. I used to have a lot more than I have now. I also like the Sony PVMs, so they're professional video monitors. So they're the small ones that I've got, like the 6-inch screen and the 9-inch screen. Mm-hmm. They were used by like camera crews and stuff back in the day. Not too long ago, and there's probably still some camera crews that use them now. But they're the top dog for like an RGB output. So that if you want to play a game, an retro game, and you want to play it in RGB, if you put it in a PVM, it's Trinitron. It's just unreal. So yeah, the Discovery, I bought that. I went to a guy's house to pick up some Xbox and PS2 games, and before I left, he said, "I've got something upstairs. I want to get rid of it, but I don't really want to sell it that much. But let me just show you and see if you're interested." And he brought it down, and before he even told me the price, I knew in my head, "There's no way I'm not leaving. I'm having this." And he was like 60 quid, and in my head I was thinking, "What? Yeah, of course I'm gonna have it."
Because it was a limited edition TV that was to celebrate the launch of the first space shuttle.
Exactly, yeah.
And so it was limited edition, and it looks like a astronaut's helmet, so it's just cool.
You lift the visor, lift the visor up, and you can click it back down again. And then the remote control is based on the thrusters of the.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I'll have to look that up in a bit. But
like the I don't know. I can't think of the technical term, but you'll see if you see the remote. But not everybody has the remote. And also on the when you lift up the helmet, the visor, on either side of that visor, you've got these little circle clips or attachments or whatever you want to call them that help it sort of lift up and down. A lot of people lose one of those as well, but everything's intact, man. Everything.
Nice. It's good when you find out. I saw another retro person on YouTube or something recently, and they'd picked up it was the CD PS2, like the DVD, like a box PS2. No, not PS2, but it was an old retro console, and it had what was super rare was an add-on that goes on the bottom.
The Famicom disc drive, or it could be the N64 disc drive, which is
could be. There was it was a silver cube. And they said they bought one online, and it was just.
Was that the Samsung GameCube? Was it Panasonic? I know.
It had an add-on that could play. I think it was something like Super Nintendo games. Or something.
The Satellaview.
Maybe.
You just have to download.
Anyway, on this picture of this thing that was not worth much was this add-on thing that was worth about $1,000 or something, and he said, "I'll just buy it just in case," because he thought they'd just used a stock picture. But no, it came along and there was this 1,000. So when you get something like that, I can imagine it.
Yeah.
You think all your Christmases will come at the same time.
Yeah, there's some rare stuff in the collection that I won't get rid of for a long time. There's one thing that I've got that always springs to mind is a sealed Nintendo GameCube SpongeBob SquarePants controller. And I've never seen one. I think I saw one on eBay in the years that I've been looking. And it was up for a few $100s. I got it for a tenner from someone down the road.
Yeah.
So I remember sitting in the garden in the summer and thinking, I'm just going to quickly check Facebook to see if there's any gaming stuff back when I used to buy and sell. And 2 minutes before this SpongeBob pad went up, and I messaged him straight away, and I was like, I'm coming to you. I'll come now, and I'll come and get it. Went there, really nice guy, and bought it for a tenner, and it's almost priceless because it's so rare. It's hard to find a price for it.
When you put it up, people
you're going to love me right now because I've got both the SpongeBob controllers.
Oh, nice!
There's two, and they were given to me. I think they're PlayStation. And they're two.
Is it Patrick and SpongeBob?
That's the ones.
Yeah, I've got those. They're PlayStation 2 pads.
Yeah, they're lovely.
Tom, don't one up the guest.
Sean's is GameCube. I think Sean's is more. It's rarer.
It is definitely. Yeah.
They're good pads, man. I love stuff like that. I love these unique sort of twists on things.
I mean, a lot of these rare things are not necessarily. Some of them aren't good, are they? They? You just know that some of these sealed things, you get it out and you'd be like, oh God, this is horrible. But sealed, you're never going to know, and it's always
because you had the Wu-Tang Clan.
Oh God, the Wu-Tang Clan PS1 controller.
Yeah, I used to have 2 more of those. So they're horrible to play on. I kept one, and they're awful. I would never recommend.
They're low quality. They were. I mean, they came free with the Wu-Tang Clan game, which wasn't particularly great either. I didn't like it. I tried to take it back because they were selling the controller separate, and so I tried to take it back. But this was in the early days of barcodes, kind of thing, and they went, "Yeah, no, that came free. Damn it!" I tried to get the money back, but they weren't having it without a receipt.
I always think now if I could go back in time and speak to my younger self, because there's some of the stuff I had back, like Nintendo, like Pokemon Nintendo 64 consoles and boxes. I think I had like a first edition Charizard at one time.
Oh, nice.
And now I think about it, they go for like hundreds of £1,000s. I was like wiping my nose with it and stuff. Now, like, if I had known how much it was going to be worth in 30 years' time, 20
How
years
did you wipe your nose with that thing?
Well, I'm being exaggerating a little bit, but I didn't look after it very well.
Just roll it up and really shove it up there. Yeah. Could you imagine selling that on eBay? Yeah, just only being up one nose.
I just didn't look after stuff. Things that would be a lot of value.
Well, I think we've been nattering for about an hour, and I think we could probably chat to you for many more hours. But no, it's been brilliant to have you on, Shaun. Cool. So he's available, I think, for commissions when he's got time. But and he is DidSomebodySayRetro on Instagram, but he is also on all the other socials if you want to see what he's up to. He's Wide Boy and as yet unannounced Pine Boy, Pine something. And so follow him, and
all the links in our show notes as well.
We'll put the links on the podcast notes, and thank you very much.
Thank you,
Shaun Campbell.
No, thanks for having
me. Did somebody say retro? And like and subscribe for us, and we will speak to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.